in Australia, lives in Australia, travels all around the world. He helps generate $6.2 million a month, and what he does for healthcare practitioners is a big deal. He's a very sought-after speaker. He's supposed to be live. His flight got canceled, and even though his flight got canceled, like he had 3 flights booked to try to get here. He couldn't be here, and so we're zooming him in. Here's John Logar. Everybody give him a round of applause.
Just a light on his face. He needs a light on.
Yeah, tell him to turn the camera towards the windows.
Life's rough, I know.
Hey everybody, my only regret then is I'm not in that room with you due to obviously flights being cancelled. I've not been able to travel. So I'm super excited to be here. I want to thank Brian and thank you for coming out for this day. I know that you've been getting a lot of ideas, educations, tactical things and strategies. I'm going to be sharing a presentation with you that I've put together here for you to, I guess, share what I see the greatest opportunity for the chiropractic industry in terms of growth. And you are in an industry that has phenomenal opportunities I'm going to be sharing with you. And I guess I'm going to give you an insight into how you can take advantage of those opportunities. So I'm just going to share my screen. So you should be able to see my slide presentation on the screen. So you can see my slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm a business strategist. I develop in the niche market or niche marketing specialist. I developed and implemented a patient acquisition strategy for a physical therapy group called Breakthrough. That strategy is generating over $7 million worth of patient revenue per month. 11,000 patient opportunities every single month. It's a $30 million practice, and we did that in 5 years. So we work with over 290 practices across North America, the United Kingdom, and Australia, and that business is growing exponentially right now. I consult the health and robotics tech industry on business development strategy. I do a lot of traveling, as Brian says. I spend most of my time in an aeroplane. I do have an interest in several businesses. I manage a firm that builds training and coaching programs for marketing and consulting agencies in that industry as well. So I've been doing this for about 30 years. I've been developing businesses, working as a consultant, and doing some really crazy fun stuff around the world. So so I want to talk about the greatest chiropractic opportunity on the planet. This was my morning, so at 6 a.m. this morning, this is what Australia, the Pacific Ocean looks like. This is the sun creeping through. It's actually a lot more brighter out there, as you can see. But this is my morning. This is my balcony. Got a little bit lighter there, just to give you perspective that we on the other side of the pond are alive and well. So let's get into it. I come from a country, you'll notice that, first of all, I want to excuse my Minnesota accent. I kind of talk really fast. So I'm going to try and keep this as succinct to you as possible. We have some crazy animals. For those of you who may not have been in Australia, everything in this country will kill you. We have bears, we have lots of sharks in the ocean. We have all these sorts of things going on, but we live probably on one of the greatest bucket list countries in the world, and unfortunately I only get to spend not as much time as perhaps I'd like to. I spend more of my time traveling and in your country, actually, in the United States. So let's get into it. So my presentation is all about you, all about your opportunity, your business, where things are heading, and just to give you perspective of how important putting yourself out into the market in your communities to maximize your opportunity to generate revenue is actually paramount to your industry. So I'm going to give you some perspective on that. So the biggest challenge, in fact, I was sitting in a room, I was actually in a room of about 100 business owners that were in that range of building their businesses, they were at that $1 million to a few $1 million mark in their business, and they all wanted to scale up and build bigger businesses and aspirations. And the thing that strikes a chord with wanting to achieve the things that we aspire to in our business is the only thing we need is permission. We've got to give ourselves permission to have the things that we desire to have in our lives. I often have the saying that what you focus on most becomes your reality. If you focus on challenge, if you focus on stress, if you focus on all of those things, then you'll naturally go to have a lot of those representations in your life. But if you focus on creativity, innovation, kindness, care, if you focus on being the optimistic side of opportunity, you'll find that you'll actually have a lot more exposure to that type of element. And so one of the things I said to this group is that, look, the difference between where you are now and where you aspire to be in your practices is just a decision. It is giving yourself the permission to go, it's okay, that's what I want in my life, right? That's what I want to achieve as an outcome. That's the difference between being stuck in mediocrity and working towards having the things that you aspire to in your life. So, 2017, your industry is a $14 billion industry. In 2017, the chiropractic industry, according to Forrester Research, was a $14 billion industry. 2019, $15 billion. It grew by $1 billion in 1 year, by over $1 billion in 1 year, right? In 2019 to 2025, we're going to experience a 4.3% growth rate. It's going to turn into a $17.9 billion industry. That means that there's a lot going on in your market. There's a lot going on in how healthcare is being utilized. This is the United States, by the way. This is only the US. So these are the current statistics. So 17 billion. So the business, any group or any organisation is growing at an average rate of 3%. Any industry group that's growing at an average rate of 3% is actually on a very rapid trajectory of growth, right? If you're down at that 1.1, 1.5, a very slow growth, but anywhere 3% and above, the growth trajectory is very, very fast, very, very high. So you're in an industry, in the healthcare industry, that is actually growing faster than a lot of other parts of the healthcare industry. So, which is interesting to know. So, here's the thing. According to the Department of Bureau of Labour Statistics, 547 practices opened up in between July 2017 and July 2018. I haven't received the current stats, but I know that the stats are not dissimilar. That roughly means that there's 10 to 15 practices opening up in every major state in the State of the Union in the United States. So growth is happening, right? You're seeing lots of practices come out, but also, this is also what's happening. 35 million patients treated in 2018 in the chiropractic industry between 2018 and 2019, I should say. The employment rate will be 12% over the next 5 years, 12% plus. That is a huge growth in employment rate within your industry, right? 2,500 chiropractors are going to be entering the workforce every year, this very year, but every year, 2,500 new chiropractors. Now, that also means a lot of chiropractors who've got experience are going to open up their practice in the marketplace. So the competition is here. The competition is here, and let me share with you exactly what's going on in the competition. So this is a place called Valdosta, Georgia. It's in this very south of Georgia, and this is the Google map of the number of practices. Now, this town only has a population of roughly, the catchment area is roughly 200,000 people, right? Not a very big town. But there are nearly 18 chiropractors in this town, and there are also about 20 physical therapists in this town. That's not including the the dozen or so functional medicine doctors in this town. That's not including the 8 or 9 acupuncturists in this town. That's not including other health services. This is just including 2 main groups. So this is a microcosm in a town in the United States, right? Here's the interesting thing. About 12 months ago, the United States Air Force decided to build a hospital with a physical therapy practice and chiropractic services on base in this town. 45% of the bookings that these practices received came from that Air Force base. 45%. So within less than 2 months, 45% of the business dropped, right, to these practices. Now get this, these are the current practices that are existing right now. But a year ago, right, there were actually 30% more practices. 30% of the practices, chiropractors and physical therapists, shut down in this city, in this town, because the Air Force Base decided to build its own facility for its own people, right? So now they're competing for a smaller environment, smaller community. So the competition is fierce. And this is only a microcosm. Imagine thinking about if you did a Google Map search of all the practices in your area where you are from, how many people there are in the market. You are competing in those markets. This is a town that has a less than 10-mile radius around. Less than 10-mile radius, right? And there are nearly 40 practices competing with each other for the same customer, for the same patient in the marketplace. So competition is growing and competition is rapid, and you need to get ahead of your competition. You want to be the first choice within your community for your service in the marketplace, right? So your opportunity to direct access to patient in your communities is absolutely vital, right? Now, we know Facebook has 2.2 billion people on it. It is a very organically viral, community-driven platform. But here's the thing, the average person has 200 plus channels that they consume from, right? All these apps that we're consuming, all these messaging apps and all these other services that we're consuming, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest still, Twitter has taken a resurgence, but all these apps, Messenger, right, WhatsApp, all these sorts of things, over 200 channels that we're communicating with in the marketplace. And the thing is that 1 in 5 minutes that people spend on a mobile device in the United States are on Facebook and Instagram. 1 in every 5 minutes, people are holding on for dear life, not letting go of this device. They cannot get rid of this device. They're living with it 24/7, right? So 1 in 5 minutes is on mobile devices in the US and Facebook and Instagram, right? Most powerful computer in the world, this incredible computer. It's not cheap, right? But we sleep with it. We now sleep with it in our beds, right? It's sitting right beside us. It is our alarm, it's our communication center, it's our navigation center, it's our connection to the world and social media. It is the most powerful computer in the world, right? But here's the thing, 70 to 85% of search is done on that mobile device. I want to ask you a question because I can see you in the room. If you could put your hand up, if you looked for a Google search in the last 48 hours, how many people use their mobile phone to do a Google search? Just put your hand up, just so I can see. Isn't that interesting? Nearly the whole room has used this device to search. What do you think your patients are doing? They're doing exactly the same thing when they're searching for you. So you need to think about how you communicate, how you're seen, how visible you are, based on where people are at right now. So if 85% of search is done on a mobile tablet or mobile device, right? The other thing is, and I'd love to ask this question, how many people in the room, put your hand up, have made a purchase, physically paid for something on their mobile device in the last 48 hours? How many people have made a purchase? Isn't it amazing? Nearly a third of the room that I can see, right? People are buying straight off here, booking straight off here, making decisions straight off here. So think about how you're marketing and how you're presenting yourself in relation to how a customer is behaving in your community. Very, very important. And by the way, that is an opportunity because a lot of people are not taking advantage of where people are behaving. So, which way? Just to give you perspective, back in buyer behavior, so this is back in 2009. In 2009, according to Google, based on a study that they did called ZMOT, it was called Zero Moment of Truth. And the zero moment of truth was when a customer made an actual decision, a physical purchasing action to engage, to buy, to book, right? A buyer behavior. Back in 2009, it was only 5 frames of reference. So 5 frames of reference. We checked the website, we might have got a referral from a friend, we might have gone, had a chat to looking at some review sites, but we didn't need a lot of references to actually make a purchasing decision. But here we are in 2020, back in 2019, they reassessed. Now a person needs 30 frames of reference before they make a purchasing decision. What that means is because we've become so connected to the opinions of other people and what's going on online, because we're so easily distracted and connected, we are spending more time to make that decision, right? We're spending more time to trust our decisions. In fact, we're becoming more externally referenced and less internally referenced. We're trusting ourselves less which means that we're trying to draw in more information for us to make the right decision. We don't want to make the wrong decision, so what we do is we're going to rotate and waste a lot of time. I don't know about you, but I used to do this. I have somebody else now booking my travel, but when I was traveling, I'd be looking at all the review sites and different planes and different services, and I was trying to get the best deals and all those sorts of things. And it's really weird that sometimes the first place I looked had the best deal, but I just kind of had to make sure that that was right. How many people are searching for things when you're searching online? That you might watch a video review, you might see 3 or 4 websites, that you're spending more time actually trying to look and search for what you're looking for. How many people would say that they're spending, they're looking at multiple sites and looking at multiple angles on a product? Anybody do that? Just put your hand up. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Isn't that funny? Because we've got so many more choices, we've got so much more information at our fingertips, so we become more externally referenced. So this is a really important key thing that I'm sharing with you. You need to understand that if people are behaving this way, that they need to see you out in their world, right, more often. They need to see you everywhere. If you want to capture and dominate your market, and by the way, it is cheaper to do that today than it was 10 years ago. It's cheaper to be everywhere today than it was 10 years ago, right? Brian, I know, is going to be sharing with you an amazing strategy that makes you omnipresent in the marketplace, and I don't believe he's done that yet. But it is cheaper to do that today than it was before. And so here's the thing. If you become omnipresent, if you become visible in their marketplace, you are often going to instigate first choice. You become first choice because you become known, you become trusted, right? You become familiar, and that's what you need to do with your marketing, right? You need to become familiar. So, stand out from the crowd. You need multiple touch points over multiple channels before you get a customer conversion. People are looking. It's really weird. I found myself. In fact, I'll tell you the story a little bit later. But understand that you need multiple touch points. You need multiple touch points in your market. That also means multiple touch points for your current clients as well. Your current patients, you need to re-engage those people as well, right? So, here's the thing. Email and advertising are still the 2 biggest marketing strategies that work for acquiring chiropractic patients online right now. Email marketing and advertising are the 2 biggest strategies that work to acquiring patients online, right? However, direct messaging is rapidly growing. SMS text, Facebook Messenger, voice drops, being able to have multiple touch points in automation with your clients is becoming even more powerful, right? How many people here, if you see a text message appear on your phone, will look at your phone? How many people just put your hand up and you get a text message on your phone and look at it? Nearly every person in the room will put up their hand on that, right? Your customers, your patients out there in the marketplace behave exactly the same way. So we now have technology and the ability to communicate directly in the palm of the hands of our patients to gain access, right? Including voice, which is very, very powerful. So your team, your support systems, your education and your patient care, and more importantly, your marketing is what's going to set you apart from your competitors in the marketplace, right? So, why is patient care important to you in your businesses? Because if you don't respond, if you don't engage, and if you don't help people, what will happen is your marketing will drive your patients to another person in the marketplace, right? One of the unique things about the chiropractic industry is anybody that has any form of musculoskeletal problem, you are the first call. They're not calling doctors, they're not calling functional medicine people, they're not calling physical therapists, they're calling a chiropractor, and it's really weird. We held an event in Dallas, Texas. There were 400 physical therapists in the room. I asked this question: if you had back pain, or if your market had back pain, who do you think they would call first? Put your hand up and yell out the answer. 400 physical therapists in the room said chiropractor. Your competition said you were the first choice when it came to people who had pain in the back. Isn't that funny, right? That your competition, the people who also help people just like you, know that you are the first choice. That's super cool, right, in the market. But how you manage your patients, how you care for your patients, how you induct your patients is a determining factor of your success and growth in your opportunity. right? So opportunity cost. For every 10 people that inquire or come to your practice, right, out of every 10 people, on average, an average practice would say they would probably get 50% of those people in a call. Your conversion rate to a call should be around 75 to 80%. 75 to 80% is where you're aiming. But if I was to say 50%, let's say half of that 10, right, you helped into your practice. The other half goes somewhere else. The opportunity cost is your plan of care. If you're selling plan of care, and let's say your average plan of care is like $1,500, right, and 5 of those customers, for whatever reason, because of the way that the interaction has occurred, decide to go somewhere else, right, you're losing that, you're multiplying that 5 times $1,500, right, that's, what's that, that's $4,500, that's $4,500 that you lose out of your practice, right, if you don't help. So one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure is that you're continually mindful of the opportunity cost of your business. Because if you're spending money on marketing and advertising and you don't help those people into your practice, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sending those people to your competitors, and that's what we don't want to do. And there's another one thing in chiropractic that is absolutely key, right? I often hear this. I've talked to chiropractors in practice, both large and small. I've had conversations, and they'll say things like, you know, we're doing marketing, but you know, we don't seem to be getting results, right? And I'll sit there and say, well, the reason you're not getting results is because you're not helping those people who are inquiring. You're actually helping those people out the door. You're actually getting people, because the only way that you feel that your marketing isn't working is because you're not engaging, right? When somebody puts up their hand and responds to your marketing and comes to your practice, they're putting up their hand because they need help. The responsibility to help that patient is on your practice. Whoever's handling that inquiry, it's their responsibility to do the very thing that the patient wants, and that's they want help, right? But a lot of practices in the United States are not helping people who are coming in and putting up their hand, right? And the marketing is working. The marketing is working brilliantly because it's working so brilliantly that you're the first choice over and above any competitor in the marketplace. So opportunity cost is key. Will you do everything you can? This is something you need to work on. Train your teams, train your people to handle inquiries more effectively. We have practices that I work with where their plan of care conversion rate is about 85 to 90%. 85 to 90% of the people they see buy into a multi-$1,000 plan of care, right? Because of the training, because of the focus, and because of how they help those patients take advantage of those plans of care in the marketplace. But the key here is will you do everything you can, and the question to that is that you need to be training your people to handle those inquiries. You need to be measuring your inquiries so you can actually see what's going on, right? The better you train, the more often you train, the better the result you're going to have, the faster your practice is going to grow, okay? So we either grow or stagnate. We either grow our practice or we stagnate. You get to decide this outcome. Nobody else gets to decide this outcome, whether you grow or you stagnate, right? You get to decide. And so if you look at, I know Brian and some of the practices he works, look at the practices that are getting outstanding results in their marketing, right? There's a reason why they're generating those outcomes. It's because that's where their attention is, that's where their focus is. So, most important success factors in the chiropractic industry, there's 3 of them. The first one is to develop symbiotic relationships with other industries. Open the door to generating partnerships within your community so that you open the door to more opportunity in the marketplace. Number 2, having a great reputation, very important, still very important because people will look at your reputation in the marketplace. That's number 2. But number 3 will have the greatest impact on your business. The ability to quickly adopt to new technology marketing. Remember a moment ago I said that text messaging and voice dropping and Facebook Messenger are rapidly growing. These are technologies that are not expensive to take advantage of, right? But they have a much more stronger impact if you build them into the mix of how you communicate and how you engage your patients in the marketplace, right? So, marketing, the game we're playing as practice owners, this is the game we're playing. This is the differentiator between you growing and succeeding, because right now you don't have a choice. You have to be marketing. There are businesses out there that are very quickly understanding how powerful marketing is, and they are starting to jump into your markets, into your communities. So you have to be marketing. At the moment, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You must be marketing. So growing chiropractic business requires 3 key areas to focus on. To acquire and bring more patients into your practice, to make sure that you maximize the earning capacity or the revenue from that particular patient, and to make sure that your patient either refers another patient to you or will come back to you for your services or for other services you provide. These are the three key areas that you want to be focusing on in your practice in terms of its growth. More patients, more revenue, more often, right? That's how you grow. These are three silos. How do you acquire your patients? How do you help your patients invest in the plan of care or the service you provide? And how do you keep those patients educated to the other services you provide that they can come back and use? Or how do you help those patients to actually refer another patient to you? That's the key here. So what I've done is I'm going to share with you a model just to give you perspective. I'm going to show you how small changes, little hinges, swing big doors. Small adjustments create a big profit return. So let's look at this equation. So number of patients, average plan of care, and the frequency of the patient will give us a revenue. So let's say 100 patients come to us, right, from our efforts, and they buy a $1,500 plan of care, and they do this once. You're making out of 100 patients $150,000 worth of revenue, right? Now, if we got more focused on helping clients in our practice, if we got more focused on engaging, if we were doing some marketing advertising, my question to you is, do you think that we can improve that 100 number by just 10%? So from 100 to 110. I can't see you there, but I'm gathering that you're not, right? I'll nod for you, right? We should be able to increase the number of patients who come in by 10%. That's not a difficult thing to do, right? A little bit of focus in marketing, advertising, we can bring that in, right? So we can go from 100 to 110. Now, can we increase our prices? My answer to that is absolutely yes, because to give you a perspective, there are some practitioners that may have plan of care at like $600, but I know practitioners that have plan of cares of up to $4,500 in plan of care in your industry, in the marketplace, right? So understand, or more, in fact, some of them $5,000 and $6,000, right, for their services, right? So can we improve, can we add value, can we increase our price by 10%? Not by 50, not by 30, but only by 10%. We should be able to increase our prices to $1,650 as an average plan of care. Not a difficult thing to do. We educate our client, help our clients understand why they're making that investment in their care. The outcome is for them to become back to normal health with your services and with your help. We should be able to increase those numbers, or the average spend, by about 10%. Now, can we get, right now, I know in the chiropractic world, more than 50% on average of your customers are coming from referrals, right? So nearly half the people you bring in your practice are sending other people to you in your practice, get along word of mouth for being a great chiropractor and giving great care. But if we could actually get 1 in 10 of our clients, not all our clients, just 1 in 10, to bring us another patient into our practice, right? Is that possible? Can we get 1 in 10 either to come back and see us for other services, or to refer another patient? And just nod your head. Yeah? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Good. Right. So 1 in 10. So now we go from 1 to 1.1. Right? Now, here's the thing. We've only had a 10% increase in patients, we've had a 10% increase in our pricing structure, but we've had a 10% increase in our frequency of purchase. And what happens here is our new figure is $199,650. That is a 33% growth rate in revenue by making small adjustments to your business. Some of the practices that we work with work this silo. What do we do to acquire patients? How do we maximize the average return? How do we get patients either to come back and utilize another service, or to refer customers to us? And we've seen exponential growth when they've been focused on these 3 key areas in their practice. So small adjustments can have a big impact on revenue for your business. So you can actually play this game with your business, right? So practices that invest in marketing and growth, practices that don't struggle and are left to the mercy of the market, right? Let me tell you, you do not want your neighbor marketing heavily in your market, right? Because that's going to force you to have to compete, right? So you want to make sure that you are ahead of the curve in marketing to any market, right? So most successful practices invest 10% or more of their revenue in their marketing. The most successful practices are the ones that are growing the fastest. They're actually attracting more patients in the market. Okay? So your purpose is to provide outstanding healthcare to your community. That's the purpose of your practice. You're the first line of defense against pain in your practice. You need to let people know that you are the first line of defense against pain in your practice, right? The purpose is for you to provide outstanding healthcare, which I know a lot of you do. Most of you do. All of you do, right? Okay, so your goal is to build a practice, a scaling practice. That is a profitable scaling practice. That's your goal, right? Ultimately, there are things that we aspire to in our practice. You want to become the local authority. You want to become the leading expert. You want to develop a scalable practice operations, right? You want to exit with equity. Imagine one day building your practice in a way that you can actually exit with equity, right? You want to optimize your patient flow to improve your practice systems. You want to maximize on your reimbursements. You want to open, some of you may want to open a multi-location practice. You want to hire and retain employees. This is the critical thing. That remember, there's 2,500 people coming into your market. You want to hire and you want to retain your team so you can grow your practice. And the last thing, which is really important as to why you got into this in the first place, is you want to take control of your work-life balance. Ultimately, I would imagine some of you would like to treat less and spend more time enjoying the fruits of scaling practice, right? Is working towards bringing people in to care for your patients so that you can scale and grow. The reason why you did this is not only be of care to your community, but you built your practice as an opportunity for yourself, right? These 8 things are the critical things that most practices at one point or another, or many times, touch upon, right? Becoming the authority in their community, developing a scalable practice operations, exiting with equity, optimizing patient flow, maximizing reimbursements, opening up multiple locations, hiring and retaining employees and team, very, very important, and taking control of your work-life balance. This is the goal of a scaling practice, right? That's what you want to be doing. So, what do you really, 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 really want? That's 4 reals, right? 4 reals, not 1 really, 4, right? I often ask people what do they want, and what they do is they tell me all the things that they don't want. They tell me all the things that they don't want in their life. And so if you focus on all the things that you don't want, then that's exactly what is going to be represented to you, all the things that you don't want, right? So what you want to be focusing on is the things that you really, 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 really want. 4 reals. The more clear you are, the more purposeful you are, the more focused on that outcome, you will achieve those things that you aspire to in your life and in your business, right? So, do it, you'll become it. There was a famous TED talk by Amy Cuddy. Amy Cuddy, you can look it up online, it's TED. She talked about a story. And originally when she talked about this story, it was a story of fake it until you make it, right? It was a story of fake it until you make it. But what she came to realize that in the moment of, and if you watch this TED Talk, I highly recommend everybody watch the TED Talk, Amy Cuddy TED, it's one of the most watched TED Talks. She has this moment, she's a Harvard professor. In her life, she had a terrible accident, like growing up. She had a horrible accident that literally almost took her life. And she had many years of recovery, and she still is affected by that accident today. She worked really hard, she got into Harvard, she's a Harvard professor. In human behavior and dynamics, right? And one day a student came into her office and the student was crying. And this is what the student told Amy. The student said, I don't believe I deserve to be here. I feel like I'm a fraud, right? This student was on a full scholarship to Harvard University. It was not a cheap thing to be at this Ivy League school. And this person felt like a fraud. And in that moment, Amy also felt like a fraud. She felt like I didn't belong here. I didn't belong here. I cannot believe that I'm in this place, right? And the thing is that she realized in that moment, she caught herself. And she said to the student that you did everything that you needed to do to become the person that you are, to be in this moment, to have the opportunity to be at this school, to help you grow and to aspire to the things that you want to achieve, right? The same thing that she did in her life, that worked really hard through all the adversity, through all the challenges that she had to become a renowned Harvard professor in her life. And she realized that she caught herself in this moment, and you'll see it in the video. It's the last 5 seconds. She said, sometimes you've got to fake it till you make it. She changed it. She said, you know what? No. You do it and you'll become it. If you want a consistently growing practice that cares for your community, and you have a team around you, people that aspire to help you, that are also part of that care, that are building your opportunity, then you will do what you need to do to become that. You'll never have to fake it till you make it. You'll do it and you'll become it. The key here is you want to believe in your opportunity, believe in yourself, right, in what you do. You want to believe in you and yourself in what you do, because that's what's going to be reflected on what you create and what you change. And the last thing is you want to be awesome, right? You want to be awesome to your community. Right now, more than ever before, we need to engage our community. We need to add value. We need to support. We need to encourage. We need to communicate as much as possible, more than ever today, right, in the crazy environment we're in. The more we do in that light, the more we understand that if we put ourselves out there, we open the door to greater opportunities. And right now is a time of opportunity. Instead of being retractive, you want to be expansive, right? Because if you are expansive, then the market sees you. You become visible. But if you retract, if you restrict, if you contract, right, then what happens is it will hurt in the marketplace. What you need to do is you need to double down on your communication, on your exposure into the marketplace. Because there are people out there who are in retraction mode. But there are other people that I know in our markets. In fact, what we're doing to all our clients right now, we're encouraging them to double down on their marketing. The reason why is because they're going to get so much more exposure in the market, right? And because there's going to be less competition, it's actually going to be cheaper to get the results and marketing and advertising in the marketplace. This blip that we are experiencing on the planet is a blip that is only going to be for 4 to 6 week period, right? 4 to 6 week period is the blip, right? However, we are not going anywhere. You live in one of the greatest countries on the planet. We have 330 million people in your world. Your economy can self-sustain itself. There's very few countries that can actually do that other than the United States. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is think outwardly, think how you can impact on your community, think how you can engage the people that need help, because they need help. They're not going anywhere, they're not disappearing, right? In fact, I was talking to a physical therapist here in Australia, and I was asking him, how are you looking over the next 2 months? And he says, we are booked out. We are booked out. We have no space in our calendar to take more. We're pushing people into another practice that we own, right, to fulfill. So where the market is contracting, others are expanding in the market. So hopefully, I've helped you perhaps understand a little bit more about the importance of utilizing technology, how to engage that market, and more importantly, to maximize your opportunity to do the thing you do best, and that is to help people get well, to become back to normal. Back to normal health is the idea. And you are the front line of helping those people in your community, and those people are not going to go away. In fact, I know from the statistics, 1 in 5 people is suffering back pain in the United States. That is huge. That is 1 in 5 people in the market is suffering or know somebody who's suffering from back pain in the marketplace. And so you have an incredible opportunity to help those people. So hopefully, I want to thank you. I know that we've done this virtually from the other side of the world. I hope that you've had some ideas, some things that you can take away from what I've shared with you. But I am wishing you all the very best of opportunities. And I know that you're in the right room because you wouldn't be there if you weren't interested in looking at expanding and growing and having more reach and more impact in your community. So I want to thank you for giving me this time, and I'm hoping you have an awesome day. Brian, thank you. I'm happy to take questions virtually if you want questions, but I'll hand you over to Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? Thank you so much, John. Does anybody have any questions that you guys want to ask John? Anybody? And you can take off the slides so they can see you as well. Now, turn your video back on.
Turn my slides, yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have a question that you want to ask John? Nope.
I know you're all writing notes. It's great.
It's good. So,
Great stuff.
No questions.
no questions? All right.
Does you have any specific advice for us how to know this coronavirus and really capture that?
Did you hear that?
The market share for what's going on right now?
Do you have any advice for how they can deal with the coronavirus and the market share and how to really market to that and deal with that as a chiropractor?
I have. Okay, so this is something that we're doing. This is something we're doing with our clients. So thank you for asking the question, by the way, because it's a question on everybody's mind is how to deal with the current circumstances, the current issues. The number one thing is you want to get ahead of this. Right now, you've got an opportunity. You're just coming into this weekend. I would be sending a message out to all your patients saying, hey, we're here for you, right? We want to help you. You need treatment, you need help. You want to let people know that you're okay, that they are okay, that you are still part of their lives. The first thing I'd be doing is be communicating with all my existing patients and just letting them know that you're there. Because if you're the one that's communicating, nobody else is. A lot of people, it's really weird, a lot of people are retracting. What I would be encouraging you is to get ahead of this and actually get in front of communicating with your patients and saying, hey, get at least decent information, provide the recommendations of making sure that they're washing their hands, not touching their faces. You can only get this from somebody who is in a first contact scenario. Not everybody's going to get this, right? I have a couple of friends who have this right now in isolation that are still working in their businesses, but they're working their businesses virtually, right? But what I recommend you do is I would highly recommend that you communicate to all your patients. Just letting them know that you're there, letting them know that there are some considerations that they need to make from their own healthcare, inviting them in for treatment. If they need treatment, they shouldn't be waiting to be treated, but you want to be inviting those patients in for treatment. And as long as you maintain your hygiene, you should be fine. My thing is communicate as much as you can. Be optimistic, don't be pessimistic. As soon as you get into a pessimistic mode, it's a downward spiral. One thing I would encourage you to do is, and it's really weird, and thank you for asking this question, by the way, because this friend who has coronavirus, who runs a very large company, decided to interview CEOs of companies as small as $1 million up to $50 million, and interviewing them on the reactions of what's happening with COVID-19. And there were three categories. One category were the people who were really worried, concerned. There was another category who was like, wait and see what happens, right? And then there's a third category who was actually implementing strategically plans for growth, right? Now here's the difference. The first two category people were spending more time on social media. In their conversation, they mentioned social media 10 to 15 times throughout the conversation, and they mentioned COVID-19 more than 20 times in that conversation, in those interviews. The people who were optimistic and engaged in plans, strategy, implementing for growth were very positive, right, first of all. Weren't spending a lot of time on social media. In fact, they only mentioned COVID-19 through a 1-hour conversation 2 times on average. Which is really interesting. So the group that were optimistic and the group that were planning and expanding, and in fact, the 30% that were optimistic were all increasing their marketing investment. All of them were increasing their marketing investment because they know that this is an opportunity to become very visible in their market over and above their competitors. So some things I would highly recommend. Let your clients know that you are open for business. Let them know you're open for business and let them know that you can help them. If you can't help them physically, maybe you can use the phone and say, hey, let's do a phone session, or let's do a Zoom session like this that you can do on a mobile device. But number one, communicate, let people know that you're optimistic, let people know that you care, let people know that they are okay and they are okay with you. That is the number one thing that I would highly recommend you do. The second thing I would recommend that you do is start marketing, start advertising, right? Because this advertising is going to create momentum for you. Right? If you're going to stop, if you pull ads in this market, it is the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do. We are asking all our clients to double down, actually increase their ad spends, right? Because we know the impact that it will have when things come back to normal. Right? So those are some things I do. Number one, communicate. Number one, actually show that you care. Your patients will love you for it. Your lists of people you have connections with will acknowledge you for it as well. So that's the number one thing, is communicate. Number two, start marketing. Start marketing. This is the time where you can put your brand, your name, and your practice over and above your competitors in your community, in your market. Let me tell you, it's going to pay you huge dividends if you do that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Sean, any other questions? shy. Just,
Don't be shy, I'm here. Listen, I'm 14,000 miles away from you. I'm 14,000 miles away from you. We're talking across, the world. No, we're cool. Look, I want to thank you for listening. I hope you got some ideas out of this. I hope that it inspired you and your business. I really appreciate you taking the time in your day to be in this room, and I'm wishing you all the very best. Brian, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. And I want to say thanks to you all and wishing you all the very best.
thanks so much, John. So we're going to have a short 15-minute break so you guys can jump in the restroom, grab a drink, talk with some of the vendors, and then we're going to get into my favorite part of the day. We're going to talk about how we can put together solutions to actually practically help you guys right now get some patients. It's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited about that next session.